Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sports Shorts Daily, presented by LeBear's Casino. Tommy Krysan alongside Ronnie Rance. TK joining us from Tremonti's Meat and Seafood in Baton Rouge. Lunch, to-go orders, you name it. The best place in town, near Parkview off Airline. Tremonti's, of course, I'm at an undisclosed location presented by the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. Go to lasportshall.com for more information and to get your tickets and tables for the Hall of Fame induction this June. It's going to sell out. LeBear's Casino is our presenting sponsor. No better place than LeBear's Casino to be to watch all of the games. You name it, go to the sports book, watch the games, and hey, little date night, Friday, Saturday night, and Thursday night. Edge Lounge is the place to go on the casino floor after dinner. All right, TK, yesterday, the New Orleans Saints made some changes. We kind of anticipated that they would make changes. They didn't make the big change. Dennis Allen's still the head coach of the Saints, but four offensive coaches are gone. 3 were kind of let go. 1 jumped ship probably before he was let go to the Giants. That's Joel Thomas, the running backs coach. But Pete Carmichael, who people have been calling for his head ever since last season, offensive coordinator, 18 years with the New Orleans Saints. Thanks, Pete, for your service. He has been shown the door. A lot of former Saints, whether it be Shanley, whether it be Moore, others have come out and, thanking him, saying, quite frankly, the Saints would never have won the Super Bowl without him back in the day. So a lot of love for Pete Carmichael, who's been in that building for 18 years. And as Scott Shanley said, has turned down numerous jobs to stay with the Saints over the seasons.
Yeah, he has. But, all good things come to an end. And the Super Bowl was a long time ago for the New Orleans Saints. And the offense that struggled this year, in the red zone, but they only scored on their opening possession one time in 17 games. I mean, you can find the numbers that justify making a change. And, is it all on Carmichael? Maybe not all on him, but he's the one that's got to go. I mean, they're not going to change 53 players. So curious to see. We've all seen the names that are bouncing around, including John Gruden, including a lot of other guys, Eric Bieniemy. There's a lot of names that have bounced around. Ken Trahan put out a list at CrescentCitySports.com of the top 10 names that could be his replacement. And there's some recognizable names on that and some that unless you're a hardcore NFL assistant coach guy, you may have not heard of. So we'll just have to wait and see how that might shake out. But, it was a big deal on Airline Highway in Metairie yesterday, and the Saints made some changes. And we kind of, like you said, everybody kind of knew that might be coming. And, nobody's going to do nothing Saturday, Sunday, Monday with the wild card weekend. But Tuesday, a lot of news flying around. And I suspect league-wide we'll get more news today and tomorrow.
Everybody wanting to know who the offensive coordinator is going to be. John Gruden was seen at the New Orleans airport. There was a picture of him posted in New Orleans airport yesterday, I believe, day before, whatever it was. We know that the Saints met with him. That would be, a splash hire for sure. It would be a ballsy move for sure, considering that there is a stink around him. This day and age, when you start throwing out racism, racist terms, we've seen the emails with some comments and things that John Gruden made years and years ago that Daniel Snyder leaked. The Washington Redskins owner, I guess when he realized he was out, he said, I'm going to burn the ships, and he just brought everybody down with releasing documents. This day and age, man, where 90% of the league is African-American, it's one thing to be a consultant. It's one thing to pop onto campus a couple times a year to look over the coach's shoulders to give some advice. It's another thing that, you're going to be asked that question day in and day out. Those guys are going to be able to go online and read those transcripts. I just don't know if it's worth it, Tommy, to have to deal with that, issue if you're the Saints. What a distraction.
Well, I'm curious to know if the Saints, somebody in the Saints office reached out to the NFL office and said, hey, can we hire John Gruden? I mean, there's a lawsuit going on between he and the NFL and, and everything you mentioned. We're going to get blowback from the league office. They don't care about the blowback from the fans. If they think Gruden can help them win games, they're going to do it. the league office would be the question. Like if they hire him, is he suspended for a game or 2 or 3 or 4? So I would think somebody's checking that out if they're considering him to be just on the coaching staff. There was talk that he might not be the offensive coordinator; it could be like an associate head coach. Keep in mind, Gruden's got a previous relationship with Derek Carr, which from all reports are a positive relationship. And Gruden's an offensive guru. We kind of know that, and would be a splash hire. Like you said, there's some baggage involved, no question.
One of the rumors is it hasn't happened officially, but we saw it online. There's reports that are coming out that potentially Mickey Loomis would move out of the GM spot. Vice president of the Saints, Kai Harley, his longtime GM, who is well thought of in that building, who's been there 16 years or 18 years or something like that, assistant GM, would move into the GM role. That was one of the things that was bandied about. So look for maybe some even more shakeup beyond just the coaching staff. And, obviously probably not a bad idea to consider that the way things have gone, particularly in the draft the last couple of years.
The other thing you got to remember, offensive coordinator position, whether it's Gruden or Bieniemy or whoever it may be, do they want to come in here knowing that if the Saints don't win the South next year, and if they make the 4th straight year where they're not in the playoffs, then is Allen fired? And then, of course, in all likelihood, the coordinators are out of a job as well. So, there's a lot of layers involved here. And this is the old, well, we're not going to fire Dennis Allen. We're going to make all these changes. And if that works, then Allen remains as the coach. If they win the South next year, which the South will be there for the taking next year, and do they win that? Do they make the playoffs after the 3-year drought? Do they make a run in the playoffs? So there's a lot of things that are involved here. And Saints fans, pay attention. There's a lot going to happen in the coming days and coming weeks. And then, of course, the draft's not that far away. Saints will pick 14th in the NFL draft. And that's unless they move around, which the Saints have been known to move around on draft day. But that's where they sit right now. They're set at 14th in the draft.
I'll say this, Tommy. I hear you when you say, "Hey, would somebody want to come here?" Knowing that you're really on a 1-year leash. You either got to get it done, have a winning record, make the playoffs, or if you have a losing record, you're out. The whole staff is out because you're going to have a new coach come in, which I think is probably fair. I think if the Saints have a losing record next year, everybody's going to be fired. If you have a winning record, it's probably like it was this year. Whether you make the playoffs or not, you probably survive. But isn't that how it is anywhere in the NFL? Like, it doesn't matter. Pick a team. It doesn't matter. The Miami Dolphins, Kansas City Chiefs. You go have one bad year. They may not fire the coach, the head coach, but they're going to be firing, where the problems lie. So I kind of think, you've got you're on a 1-year contract really wherever you go. Now your contract may say 2 years as far as money or something, but you could be out wherever you're at, no matter the situation. One bad year, they're going to make changes. Nobody's sitting pat after a losing season.
And that's true. But, I don't know. Maybe they don't think of the point that I was trying to make, but it is a real point.
Yeah. Harbaugh interviewed. He's on his tour. He interviewed with the Chargers. He's now interviewed with the Falcons. Falcons have now interviewed 7 coaches, 2 of them being Belichick and Harbaugh. Harbaugh has not come out and said that he's definitely leaving Michigan.
You saw what he said. He has requested that Michigan protect him, not fire him when the sanctions come down. Because they're coming, okay? I don't know if they're coming next year, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. But he lied to the NCAA. He's in trouble. He has asked Michigan if they would give him protection, meaning that if it all comes down the pipe and he's still at Michigan, will they not fire him or put something, not change his contract because of what happened? So therefore, he's basically telling you he knows it's coming down the pipe, which is why, as I said weeks ago, I think he heads to the NFL so he doesn't have to be around for all of that. And then some coach and the players in the future of Michigan will deal with the sanctions that are coming down. I did read a lot of stuff. I don't think they'll vacate the championship. I then made that comment a couple of weeks ago. Well, why are they in there if they win it? I don't think they'll vacate it, but there'll be scholarship reductions and visits cut back and all. There'll be a significant part of that. We just don't know when that's going to happen. Again, I think Harbaugh heads off to the NFL. Where, I don't know. It would seem that LA would be the fit with the Chargers, with a quarterback, Herbert, that he could develop. But we'll see. He's posturing. He's negotiating. That the meter's ticking all the way up every time he interviews with somebody else. Or should he return to Michigan? They've already got a contract in front of him from what we've read. But in that contract, it says he can't dabble in the NFL for 12 months. Meaning he can't go on an interview. He can't, get into conversation for 12 months.
Yeah, so he's having it before he puts the ink to it if he chooses to go that direction. Everybody keeps waiting for the Cowboys job to open up. It hasn't yet. The game just was, but Mike McCarthy I wouldn't be feeling real safe if I was him, and if that job opens up, my God, now Harbaugh and Belichick going to go interview in Dallas along with everybody else in the world, because now you talk about plug and play. You got a guy in Dak Prescott, that's probably at a better spot than Herbert in his career as far as production right now. So those are the two jobs that people would want if you think you can deal with Jerry Jones.
Yeah, well, and I think McCarthy's going to be gone before the end of the week, before we get to the divisional round playoffs. I think he's going to be gone. I think Jerry Jones is just dotting some I's and crossing some T's, and he's trying to see who might be interested, because that's got layers involved too. Do you want to deal with Jones, the only owner with a radio show, and his ego is bigger than the building they play in? So, but there's only 32 head football coaches in the NFL. There are guys that'll take that job.
Speaking of the NFL this weekend, all four home teams are favored. Of all the lines that are out there, any of them look weird? Any of them look a little high, a little low? That got your attention?
Well, a couple of them have come down a little bit, but the Ravens and the 49ers are both 8-point favorites on Saturday. I got an interesting question for you that was posed to me by Trey Blossman yesterday. And then the Lions are 6.5-point favorite, the Bills 3.5. The NFL is playing these games Saturday afternoon and evening. Afternoon meaning 3:30. And then Sunday, it's like a 2 o'clock and a 5:30 game, which is something they've always done with the NFC and AFC championship game. They put them on in different times. Well, if this is the NFL telling you that more people watch in the afternoon, especially on the East Coast, somebody goes to church, goes to lunch with the family, why don't they do the whole schedule like this and eliminate the noontime Louisiana games, 1 o'clock on the East Coast? And I know you get into the East Coast, West Coast thing. I think it'd be better for the West Coast if they got rid of 12 o'clock games. Again, I'm talking Louisiana time here, and just played them at 3 or 3:30 or 7 or 7:30 going forward. By putting the playoffs there, the NFL sending a message that this is when we think the most people will watch. Why don't they do that in the regular season? You got any thoughts on that? I thought it was a good question presented to me by Trey when we were doing a podcast yesterday. And it caused me to think when he brought it up, and I told him I was going to get your thoughts on that today.
Right. Well, I think now they're almost at a point where they can't, because of the TV contract with NBC on Sunday nights. I think it goes back to, well, they did that a long time ago. World was different, and they just kind of all stayed with there. But then when they broke off that Sunday night game and got big money for it, sold that separately as the only game in the country and all that kind of stuff. Now, what do you do, Tommy, if you go with that late start on instead of at 3:30 going 5 or 5:30? Then what? Because what are you going to start that last game at 9 o'clock at night? In order to ensure that it's the solo game. Then it's too late. It's 10 o'clock East Coast. So I hear where you're coming from, and clearly there's more eyeballs at those time slots. That's why they play it there. But now they're at the point of no return where they've got that NBC Sunday night game sold, for $1 billion a year or whatever it is, and they can't mess with it.
Well, follow the money, right? It's going to all be about money. But I thought it was a good observation. Yeah. It makes you think. But
I would rather, as a fan, a New Orleans Saints fan, where they play a lot of noon games in the Dome, for it to be a 1 or 2 o'clock game for sure. I'd rather that as a fan. As opposed to
you attend games. You're one of the people that attends more than one game. A lot of people do the one game a year. You go to a handful of games during the year, and it gets into a lot of other things, as well. But I guess, as you said, the bottom line is follow the money. If there's a contract saying NBC has to be the standalone game Sunday night, then it has to be the standalone game.
Basketball, LSU tonight at home against the Ole Miss Rebels. Tigers men's team surprisingly 2-1. They are a 3.5-point favorite tonight against Ole Miss. Big game because, if they win tonight and they go 3-1 in the league, heck, I mean, I didn't know if they'd win 3 games in the league all year. That would be pretty incredible. That McMahon and them have truly gotten things pointed in the right direction. But if they lose and they're 2-2 after being a 3.5-point favorite at home against Ole Miss, who's not a great team, then all of a sudden you look at that Texas A&M win on the road as like a one-off. Hey, they shocked the world. But look at last year, right? Arkansas came in a top 10 team in the PMAC, first game of the year in SEC play. LSU won, and then they won a couple of games, maybe the whole rest of the season. So my point being is that, this is going to be a big game tonight for LSU to decide, okay, are they actually headed in the right direction, or did they just play over their skis one game? A&M played terrible, and, we chalk it up to that.
Well, we'll see. And they're at home. Hopefully they can get a good crowd. Everybody's been cooped up for a couple of days. Might have some people wanting to get out of the house. It is going to warm up a little bit today, although it's supposed to be really cold again tonight. So maybe some people don't want to get out of the house. But, hopefully there's a big crowd for LSU men's team, and hopefully they can get that win, against the Ole Miss Rebels in the PMAC.
All right. The women, by the way, going to be interesting to see what happens. Some fallout that they lost to Auburn. The LSU women lost to Auburn on the road. Of course, it was a bad weekend for LSU against Auburn. Both Auburn's men and women beat LSU. But the bigger story with that, Tommy, is, when you think about Kim Mulkey's team, she's really only playing 6 players. And, that's hard, man. That's hard to do. I mean, not to say that, something couldn't happen to one of them. But, if somebody gets hurt, you're limited. You don't have the ability to take players out, sit them on the bench when they're not going well, put your arm around them, kind of coach them up, show them some things. Leah, watch this. And you just have to wear it. With 6 players, in essence, all they play. If it's not your night, Tommy, there's no adjustments. There's just, hey, you're trying to make adjustments on the fly. And most teams that have depth, the good teams that have depth, are the ones that win. Not to say that LSU's not going to win their share of games and be a very good team, maybe even a top 10 team. But the expectation this year with Kim Mulkey's squad was to be a national championship team. They thought they had the talent better than last year to be a national championship team, where they kind of shocked the world last year. Now the expectation was to win it. And you don't get that feeling with them. Good team, fun to watch, put a lot of people in the stands. But as far as national championship team with only 6 players, that's hard to do. And obviously, they got exposed against Auburn, against an unranked team who just kind of got in their jock defensively and made it difficult. And they didn't have the ability to put some other people in there to shake it up, to change it up, to go with a different tactic. They had to ride with what they had. We will see when they face South Carolina, who is the real deal, at the end of this month in the PMAC. Can they rise to that level at home against the best team in the country? It'll be fun to see.
Well, and the way that the other part, when that depth becomes a problem as you go through the grind of the conference schedule, and bodies get a little achy, you get a bumper and a bruise, and you still got to play all those minutes, that could add up as you get deeper into the season and certainly into the postseason. I defer to Kim Mulkey. She'll figure it out, or she's got to get a player or two to step up, because if that 5/6 aren't having their best night, they're going to get beat by an Auburn, or they're going to get beat by other teams. So, that's going to be something to keep an eye on as we go forward. They'll host Alabama tomorrow night, and we'll see how they fare.
The other Kelsey, by the way, Travis Kelsey's brother, the center for the Philadelphia Eagles, who was a 6 or 7-time Pro Bowl player and played 13 years in the NFL. He hasn't officially announced his retirement, but he told tons of his teammates after the playoff loss that he was going to retire. He almost retired last year. They won the Super Bowl. He decided to come back, but he was close to retiring last year. So it doesn't shock me that he looks like he's going to retire, and he'll go make $1 gazillion on his podcast with he and his brother. Tell us about Tremonti's on the way out, TK.
Well, they got deer processing here. Had a couple of guys drop off some deer this morning. They take care of that. They're one of the best of the business there. They got some special bourbon on sale now. You need to stop by and see that. Some high-end Blue Note stuff and Black Maple Hill. That's for you people that know bourbon. Those are high end, very high end. And of course, lunch specials, lasagna today. I'm gonna be here having a business meeting at lunch. Gonna get me the ribeye po' boy. It's worth stopping by just for that. All the wine and liquor you need, the deer processing, and of course the on-site catering. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood in Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway, just off of Airline. Now, you get off near Parkview Baptist Church and School, and you'll find Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Check them out.
All right, for Tommy Christ and I'm Ronnie Rance. Please like and share this video. Special thanks to LeBair's Casino, our presenting sponsor. We could not do it without the good folks over at LeBair's Casino. 18th Steak, one of the best places in town. Don't forget them. It's special occasion. Make your reservation for 18th Steak inside LeBair's. We will see you on Friday morning for more Sports Shorts Daily presented by LeBair's. Until then, have a good one.